twinsies, yeah.
The puff of hair there. Stop being puffy. Okay, there you go.
Dear Bruce, our third interview.
Yes, outdoors, and here we are again in New Mexico.
New Mexico. The others were in that little staircase. Remember that?
Yeah, we were up on those side going up.
It was raining the first one, and we did the second year. So this year, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how people can overcome this epidemic of fear. How can people just get a different understanding and reconnect with their essence?
Well, I think the most important thing is, what is the consequence of experiencing fear? That's most important, because if I'm in fear, what does it mean? I'm not safe, okay? And then the body automatically wants to get into a protection mode. Mm-hmm. And I say, well, then what physiological response would be for fear? And fear is, well, if something is scaring you, you want to run away from it, mm-hmm. okay? And if you want to run away from it, then you want to use your arms and legs to get out, okay? Mm-hmm. And I say, well, but you have to energize them. I go, yeah. And I go, well, blood is what energizes the organs, mm-hmm. okay? So when all of a sudden a fear comes into us, we want to get the blood to go to our arms and legs, the majority of blood, because it's carrying the energy. That's what blood's got, all the nutrition and everything to carry the energy, okay? And I go, so what does that mean? I say, well, in a physiology book, they say, in a state of fear, the blood is preferentially sent to the arms and legs. Well, then that opens up a question. Where was the blood before it was preferentially sent to the arms and legs? So the vast majority of our blood is in our viscera, our gut, and a lot goes to the brain. So I say, well, what does this mean? I say, well, I want to redistribute the blood, because I'm running from that tiger. I want all the energy, blood, fluid I can get in there. So I said, well, if the blood is mainly in the gut, doing all the organs of growth and maintenance and taking care of the body, that's its function, and I need the blood in my arms and legs, how does that happen? Well, it turns out the stress hormones from the fear cause the blood vessels in the gut to squeeze shut. I said, well, why would it squeeze it shut? Well, if you squeeze the blood vessels shut, then the blood naturally is pushed somewhere else. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, if the gut is squeezing the blood vessels shut, then the blood is being pushed to the arms and legs. Okay? And it's interesting because there's actually a fluttering, and people feel it. They say, oh, I have butterflies in the stomach when I get afraid. I got a queasy thing going on. I go, well, what you're really feeling is actually the stress hormones causing the blood vessels to shut down. So you can feel all of a sudden there's a change going on in here in your gut. But what's really happening is it's causing the blood to preferentially go to the outside by not nourishing things that are not needed. So what's the point of a fear? Well, I want to run away. And I say, yeah, but I need energy. And I go, okay, now how much energy you want? I say, you want all the energy you can. Mm-hmm. If a saber-toothed tiger stays, you don't want to say, oh, let's just store some energy over here. I say, no, I want all of the energy. So the body has an insight that when the stress hormones are released, the function of the stress hormones is to shut the blood flow down to functions that are not necessary at this moment. Mm-hmm. Okay? So I don't need my liver to clean blood or something if the tiger's chasing me. So basically it says every system in your body that is not necessary to be on, the blood vessels are going to shut. So the stress hormones go through the body, shut down everything. And I say, why is this important? Because I said, you want all of the energy you can get to go to your arms and legs. So anything in your body that is using energy but is not necessary, then obviously we don't need to do it. And that's when the stress hormones ultimately come around and shut down things. Okay, so number one, when the stress hormones are released in the body, the first thing is this: you shut down the growth and the maintenance of the body, because I don't need to grow and maintain myself while the tiger's chasing me, okay? So I say, okay, I shut those down, blood vessels squeeze shut. But then I also have to add this: the immune system, which really protects our internal world, is a very high energy system. And I say that, well, of course, think about it. If you've ever been sick, sometimes you don't even have energy to get out of bed. Why? Right. Because the immune system is using lots of energy. So then I say, well, okay, let's consider this. There's a bacterial infection inside your body, and a tiger is chasing you outside. I go, do I need to spend all that energy protecting myself from bacteria when the tiger's about to bite my ass? And I go, no. So it turns out, and this is the most critical, people have to understand, stress hormones shut down the immune system to conserve energy so I can use that energy to run away from tiger. So that's two functions already. I'm afraid, I'm shutting down growth and maintenance. Two, I don't need the immune system to protect my inside. If the tiger's going to eat me, then who cares about bacteria at that moment? So I don't use the immune system. And there's a third thing. As I said, the stress hormones shut down the blood vessels to push the blood. Well, it turns out the conscious brain, which is up here in the forebrain, prefrontal cortex of the brain, they call it, is where consciousness is. And I say we operate from consciousness. And I say, yeah, but consciousness is a slow processor, meaning there's a subconscious and a conscious. The subconscious is 1,000,000 times more powerful a processor and so fast that this conscious mind couldn't keep up with it. Sometimes I joke, I say, you're in a car and it's skidding out of control. And I say, if you stay in the conscious mind, this is the result. And I go, okay, that's not helpful. But guess what happens? When the car gets out of control, you release the stress hormones immediately. The blood vessels in the forebrain shut. I say, yeah, now what? And I said, it's going to go to the arms and legs. I go, no. In the brain, when you shut down the forebrain, it pushes the blood to the hindbrain. Well, that's where reflexes are. So when the car's out of control, all of a sudden you're turning the wheel and hitting the pedals, gas or brake or whatever, and it's like not even thinking, man, super fast. Well, that's what you need in an emergency, okay? So then the three consequences of stress hormones: shut down the growth and maintenance, shut down the immune system, and shut down the conscious mind because it's too slow in a time when you need speed, okay? Makes you less intelligent, okay? So I say, wow, this doesn't sound really good because that, your body is going to have all kinds of negative consequences from all this. I go, no, think about it this way. When the system was designed, this whole system we're talking about, the stress and all that, the only thing you had to be afraid of was a saber-toothed tiger. And I said, so what? And I said, well, if a saber-toothed tiger chases you, it's going to be maybe 10 minutes at the most. If you can get away, then 10 minutes, that stress is gone. And then so a 10-minute shutdown of growth, a 10-minute shutdown of the immune system or consciousness, I can live with that, no problem. Because after I escape, everything's back and I'm back online. But that was in the old days when the only thing was the saber-toothed tiger. But today, the stress levels that people have are every day, all year. And I go, wow, that's dripping stress hormones in all the time. I said, well, it's compromising you because the function of the stress hormones was to run away from that tiger. But this tiger that we experience today is all day, every day, all year. It's like, well, you can't survive easily without the problem. I say, how long can I shut down this immune system before something overtakes me? I go, if you're in a stress situation all the time, man, you'll be sick all the time because the immune system is not functioning up to the level. Maintenance of the body. You won't be taking care of the body through the organs of the liver for filtering and cleaning, the lungs and all this. So basically I say, it works if it's a 10-minute stress. But once it goes longer than that, then you're taxing the system. And you can undermine it, so you could die. If you're so afraid that stress hormone shuts everything down, you could die from that, just the fear. So the point about it is this: if people understand that stress hormones are useful for the most important emergency, then that's what you use it for. But the way the world is running, and they stress us, well, how's my job? It's not so good. Will I have money for the rent? Will I be able to get food? Do I have health care? I go, we are living in a society that is putting stress on people all of the time. I say, what's the consequence? I say, there's a healthcare crisis all over the world. Every country, every place, people are getting sick all the time. I go, so why is this big healthcare crisis? And I said, because there's a big stress that's always continuously there. So now we have to come and say, so what are you going to do about it? I say, first of all, you have to recognize what are real stresses and what are suggested stresses. Suggested stresses are, I think this could happen. I say, is it happening? No, but I think it could happen. I go, well, there, automatically you're stressing yourself. It didn't even happen yet because your fear of something will get you to stumble.
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if? And if you focus on what if, in your mind, you're living that fear. So the mind at this point does not distinguish between what if and what is. And therefore, just what if releases a stress hormone even though what is not there. And so people have to recognize that this stress, yeah, you need it when you need it. But if you use it and are under it all the time, you have debilitated, you have lost the control of health and maintenance in your body. And therefore, you really have to deal with stress issues as de-stressing and recognizing what's a real stress versus what's my imagined stress. Most of it's imagined. Read the newspapers like, oh my God, there's all kinds of problems in the world. I said, those are problems out there, you just read it. But now it's your problem, you bought it, okay? And the issue is to identify, is this a real stress? Is it really affecting me? Or is it something that could affect me? Well, the difference, real versus could, is real, I need the damn stress hormones. Could, the stress hormones are gonna cause a problem even though I don't have one yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the biggest issues is to really recognize, are you under stress? And I go, how do you know? I said, you feel it. Stress is a hormone, you feel this stuff. And then the biggest effort at that time is now to say, I must let go of these things because this is not real. If it comes real, I'm going to deal with it. But if I'm here thinking about it coming real, I've got a couple problems. One, A, it's not real right now. But B is, we also recognize this, your thoughts go out into the world. And if you have a thought of fear, then the vibration of the brain, and I go, oh, that sounds like New Age. I go, no, it's not New Age. You put wires on a person's head and you call it electroencephalograph. And I go, what are you reading? Brain vibrations. And then I go, oh, those are in my head. And then I have to say, guess what? There's a new device that does the same reading, but it's out here. The probe is called not electroencephalograph, magnetoencephalograph. I go, what's the difference? It's not touching you. The probe is out here. I go, it's reading my brain function out here? How can that do it? Because our thoughts are not contained in our head. They're sent out into the world. I go, so why is it relevant? A negative thought will only activate a negative thing. A positive thought will only activate a positive thing. And if you keep broadcasting negative things, then guess what? Those things you're afraid of are going to vibrate in what we call harmony, resonance, and they'll activate right in front of your life. All of a sudden, your thought is bringing in what you didn't want because you sent the vibration out, and the thing that resonates with that vibration is going to light up in your face. Mm-hmm. You send out a love vibration, that's wonderful because then love is going to come in. You send out a fear vibration, and whatever you're afraid of, it's on its way. And we have to understand this. It's so important because we didn't really understand that we are creating our life. And I said, well, what's our creation based on? I said, what are your thoughts? Because you're going to take those thoughts and turn them into vibrations from the brain, which are now, we know, not contained in here, go out in the field, and if there's anything that is in harmony with that thought, positive thought, something's great, because whatever is in harmony with positive thought is positive. But a fear thought is a negative thought. And I say, so why is it relevant? Well, it's not going to activate something positive. It only resonates with something negative. So I say, if I'm having wonderful thoughts, then wonderful things come into my life. But if I have stressful, fearful thoughts, I will bring those things into my life because they resonate with me. They're in harmony with me.
And that's the big problem. But I can't be happy because I've got this problem.
Well, that's why the healthcare crisis in the world is so great today, because everyone is operating from this kind of belief system. And I say, well, who are the happy ones? Well, some people say, oh, God takes care of fools. And I go, what do you mean? I said, well, fools aren't so concerned about all this stuff going on, and they're just happily fools going on in the world. I go, you know what? They don't have the problems you have. Why? Well, God protects them. I say, no, God didn't protect them. What they're sending out didn't bring back what you want to be afraid of. And so all of a sudden it says, am I a victim of my life? Am I a victim, or am I a creator? And now what we know with quantum physics, and especially the new science of epigenetics, which shows how consciousness is adjusting our genetics. So positive consciousness adjusts me in a positive expression, but a negative consciousness can cause any disease. Cancer, for example, is not caused by a gene. And I say that because I say there's not one gene that automatically gives you cancer. There's no gene that automatically gives you cancer. So why is it relevant? I said, then where the heck is the cancer coming from? It's not a gene causing it. And I go, no. It's a continuous stressor that focuses on some part of our biology. I just was talking to a woman indoors. She had a lot of stress because she was doing some very wonderful work, and her boss gave her work away to somebody else. And her boss at the same time said, oh, that work is not so good. And yet he gives it to somebody else. And then she realized that she lost her voice because her major advisor took her stuff and she's voiceless. Well, guess what? She has cancer of the larynx, okay? And I said, why that? Because your consciousness said, I lost my voice. Well, the voice comes from the larynx. So what is consciousness going to do? I have no voice. Cancer of the throat, okay? So cancers are not accidents. Cancers are defined by our fears. And this becomes important because if I say it's your genes, then you say, well, I'm a victim of bad genes. But I say, this is a false statement. Cancer is connected to your fear. And you say, what are my fears? And I go, now you're asking the most important question of what's going on. And this is why it's so important for our audience out here. It's just so important for them because we've been programmed to believe that things happen to us and we're victims. And the new biology, these quantum physics, both emphasize we are creators. Well, that takes responsibility. Victim, no responsibility. I'm a victim. I have no responsibility. It's happening to me. But it turns out the issues in our body, our health and all that are created by us and our consciousness through the invisible actions of fear, stress and all that. So when we take on responsibility, it says, well, I'm not a victim. I'm doing this because of my consciousness. And then I go, well, then what if I change my consciousness? I go, well, that's healing. And Peter, what you're doing in the psyche and all that, and the psyche process is wonderful because it brings your attention to, are your thoughts helping you or are your thoughts killing you? And then the idea is, well, if you have negative thoughts which are undermining your health, well, you can reprogram those negative thoughts, turn them into positive thoughts, and all of a sudden things like cancer and disease disappear from the body. Because people think, oh, cancer is the problem. I go, no, cancer is a symptom, meaning something is wrong, you're not dealing with it, but the cells have to, because you're not dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So the cells go upset, cancer happens, and it's really trying to tell you, if you were in harmony, we wouldn't have this cancer. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it says, oh, the cancer is not the ultimate problem. The cancer is a reflection of a problem. And as a result of that, well, do you have to kill the cancer cells? I go, no, they're just matching your thought. Change the thought, the cancer cells will disappear on their own. And this is really what's most important because almost all of us have been programmed with when health issues show up, oh, it's not you, it's your system, it's your genes, it's this or that. And it goes, less than 1% of disease is even connected to genes. And so, and where's all the disease coming from? It's now recognized up to 90% of all illness is stress. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, stress is my problem. And it's not something, I can take a pill. I can take a pill and one of those ones like a Valium. I said, okay, I'm not thinking about my stress. I said, I don't care if you're thinking about it or not, because the stress is not coming from the conscious mind. It's coming from lower than that, the subconscious mind. So taking a Valium is just an excuse that I don't feel it. And I go, that's not helping you. That's just allowing the undercurrent of subconscious to run you into the ground without you then being even aware that it's happening. That's what a Valium does. I don't feel it. I'm okay. I go, yeah, underneath the system is working.
I think it's like driving your car with steering wheel versus driving it with a rearview mirror. So if you try to drive it with a rearview mirror, good luck. And I think people, because they don't understand, they're not able to take responsibility for their life. It's sort of like driving with a...
Well, I just stop you. You just said they're not able to take responsibility for it. They were programmed not to take responsibility for the life. We are all able to do it.
Absolutely.
But it's the program that says, oh, you have no control. Who do you think you are? Oh, it's the cancer. It's not you. It's the cancer. It's like, no. Go back and understand. I am a creator. If I have a disease, I'm not passive in this process. I'm partly or significantly creating this disease. If people were given that responsibility, then we could deal with it. But if people are given the excuse, it has nothing to do with you, you're just a victim, then that means I'm not going to deal with it. And I go, well, then you lost your power.
Mm-hmm. Let's move over into the shade a minute, because I want to ask you a little bit more about that. Because you mentioned PSYCH-K.
Yes.
And PSYCH-K is a tool that helps people regain their personal power. And I think one of the things that's occurring now, especially now where we are, is this whole idea that we have to do what others tell us to do, and we have nothing that we can do. I think that you want to share a little bit about your experience with PSYCH-K and how you came to it, and how that might be a solution for people.
Well, I'm a science guy, right? And my research revealed how genes were not controlling life, but the environment was controlling the genes, and then that becomes then our perception.
That was brilliant.
So the point about it is, am I reading the real environment, or am I reading an interpretation of the environment? Because, well, it's interpretation, because your mind will look at it, and two people will be in the exact same environment and have totally different responses to the same environment, because that's their interpretation. So I give a whole lecture about, you're not controlled by the genes, you control the genes, and you could be healthy and all that, but you got programs that are not supporting you, and that was the end of my lecture. And of course, the first question from anyone, any audience ever, the first question is, well, how do you change those programs that are taking away your health? And I go, I don't know, I'm in biology, what the hell do I know? And it was always upsetting to me, because I thought the biology was so, wow, if you understand this mechanism, it's so amazing. But then after I told them the whole lot of biology, well, that wasn't relevant there. What was relevant? How do I change the program? I go, and I was in Colorado giving a seminar, and I got that question, and it takes the wind out of me, because like nobody wanted to talk about the biology. They just want to change the program. I thought the biology is what I love, you know. So I'm walking back to my seat after getting that question, and I'm like, here we go again, you know. Nobody was interested in the biology. They were more interested in the change, and I'm going, okay. And on the way back to my seat, I hear the next speaker, and he says, I'm going to show you how to change those beliefs Bruce was talking about. I go, really? I stop in my tracks, and I turn around, and there's this guy, Rob Williams, up there, and he's going to tell us, you know, he's going to show us how to change that belief. And I thought, well, after all these years of getting that same damn question, this might be very helpful. So I watched Rob give his presentation, and the most amazing thing I saw was he asked the audience, who wants to change a belief? Of course, almost everybody's arm went up in the audience. But I saw, and he saw, one woman who was like not even looking, but like looking away, putting her arm up and putting it down, putting it up, not even looking. And so Rob caught her attention as well. And so from the front of the podium, he points to the woman and says, tell us your name and what you want to change. And then she just glowed red like a big red light bulb. Not a word or sound even came out of her mouth. And so he left the podium and went into the audience and sat next to her and finds out her name is Pauline. And guess what she wants to change? She can't speak in public. It's like, oh, that was pretty damn obvious. She couldn't even say her name. So I'm watching this, I think, oh, this pretty ballsy. This guy's going to change this woman. Right? All of us in this room, he's going to change this woman right here. And then he goes through one of the balances, they call it PSYCH-K. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. She was on a chair doing this balance, and she gets up when the balance is finished. And she's not facing the audience, but Rob puts his arm on her shoulder and turns her to the audience, and then says to her, Pauline, would you like to tell the audience about what you just experienced? And he took his arm off her shoulder, and all of a sudden this woman is walking up and down, giving a lecture and talking about her history and this, and the audience, including me, is going, here's a woman, she couldn't even say her name. And then the ultimate joke of all was, Rob said, Pauline, please sit down, you're using my lecture time. I go, and everybody in the audience is like, holy crap, this woman couldn't say her name. Now he has to ask her to shut up. I go, whoa. And that introduced me to PSYCH-K. And further working with Rob, because I realized I can give you the science of a program, and he can give you the behavior of changing it, so the Psych-K process. So it was like a perfect marriage. Here's how come your life is this way, you got a program. And then he comes up and says, you want to change the program? Well, let's change it. It's like, wow, now it's working.
Now, synergy.
And so I will add this very importantly, because I also had a problem. I was trying to write a book on this new science. And I think I started about 3 times and it just petered out. Just couldn't do it, just stopped. And I didn't understand why I was having so much struggle. So,
how long have you been trying to write the book?
I was trying to write the book for over 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And I said I got 3 starts and each one then just stopped. And Rob said, let's do a balance, a Psych-K balance. I go, oh, okay. So he asked me, so what's the problem that you think? And I said, I think what it is, if I write this book, because it includes consciousness and all that, which is not conventional language for research scientists to use, and spirituality, that I would lose validation from my scientific colleagues if I write this book. So my subconscious was protecting my job by saying, if you write this book, you're going to lose your job. So stop. And we did a Psych-K balance. And it was funny because it was just only matters of minutes. We did it even in a hallway between 2 rooms that we were working in. And it was very short, less than 10 minutes possibly, okay? And I go on, I forgot about the balance, totally. But I remember he said, well, how would you like this book to be written? Because I've been trying to write it. And I said, well, first of all, I want it to be fast because I just spent a whole 1.5 years not going anywhere. And then I thought, I want it to be easy. I'm tired of struggling. Mm-hmm. And the third thing I thought, well, let's add this. Maybe it could be fun to write this book. And that was in that little 10-minute interim between wherever we were going. I forgot all about it. And it wasn't that many months later, I'm finishing the book. And I'm sitting at my dining room table and I'm reading the manuscript the last time before I send it to the publisher. I get to the very end of the book. And it's like, I'm finished. I pushed my chair back from the table. And I said, wow, that was fast and easy. It was kind of fun. Where'd those words come from? And all of a sudden I said, oh my God, that was the balance, the Psych-K balance I did. It's like, I hadn't even forgotten about it until the very end, and the exact words that I said in the balance over those many months before, right at the very end, is like, oh my God, that's what I balanced for, and it worked out just exactly that way. And between that and some other things, I have to say, my life, which was like everybody's working, struggling, getting through and all that, a couple of more balances after that with Psych-K. And I have to tell you, now for the last 25 years, since I've been involved with Psych-K, I'm living heaven on earth. Every day I wake up, I go, oh my God, I love my life. I love being here. I'm having so much pleasure and fun and joy of being alive. No more stresses, no more struggles. Why? Rewrite the limiting beliefs. Change them into positive beliefs. And almost instantaneously after you do that Psych-K program, in fact, it is instantaneous, right after you do the Psych-K balances, your life will change. And I'm here today saying, I just said that to Rob a few minutes ago. I said, you know, Rob, I just again want to emphasize how much I love you, because the Psych-K balances have taken me from a life to a life that's like, oh my God, I love my life. I love this planet.
It's
I
so
love
much
what I
fun
do.
being around you. That energy.
So yeah, I would just right now, without any hesitation, say that almost everybody should do Psych-K, because the programs we got as children were not the kind of programs that offered us success. They were almost always critical. I mean, because parents want to criticize the child with the belief if I criticize them, they'll do better. And what I have to tell people is, if a child's under 7 years of age and a parent criticizes them, they don't get that the parent is trying to help them. They just record the criticism. Not good enough, not lovable, not worthy enough. These are parents who are saying not just to, stick a needle in the kid to, come on, do better. But if a kid is under 7, they're not understanding the meaning of the criticism. Because under 7, you just record the words. So if you're under 7 and your dad says, you don't deserve that toy when you're throwing a big tantrum, and he yells at you, you don't deserve that toy. The child doesn't really understand or comprehend what's going on, except I just recorded as a child, I do not deserve. And so I said, so what? That's in my subconscious. I go, yeah, but then we find out that 95% of our life comes from the subconscious. So if I have a program I do not deserve, and here, let me tell people this really important little point, right? There's an important point. The function of the mind is to create coherence between your beliefs and your reality. If I have a program, my belief is I do not deserve, I download one. I say, then what's my function of my mind? Is to make that true. So unconsciously, my subconscious will make actions of my part that I'll fail. I won't do as good. And at the end, it's like, see, I didn't deserve it. And I go, where the hell did that come from? I go, well, that was a program that's been playing 95% of the day. And my mind just took that program and manifested. So the simple conclusion is, when you're struggling in life, is it because life doesn't want to give you something? No. When we're struggling in life, our own programs from the first 7 years of our life actually are the cause of our issues. We have to go back and change those programs. The idea that first 7 years is so important for the rest of your life, well, that's been known for 400 years because the Jesuits have always told their followers, give me a child until it is 7, and I will show you the man. So, what the heck did that mean? It meant, as we now know, the first 7 years is programming. Whatever programs you get in that first 7 years, 95% of your life is going to be derived from those programs. So they already knew, if I could program your first 7 years, I own the rest of it.
Just imagine if we had positive programming as a part of the culture.
Well, this is what the whole idea is. And to save our culture, to save our civilization, the first thing we have to recognize, especially parents, is that the words you say will shape that child's future. Instead of being critical, not smart enough, not good enough, not lovable, what if you were telling a child, you're the most powerful, wonderful, you can do anything, you're so creative, and you're so lovable. And I say, if a child got those messages, then the rest of their life comes from that. It's like, my God, they grew up smart, healthy, intelligent, and loved. But then I said, well, how many kids get that today? And I said, not that many.
Not that many.
And as a result, our collective population does not have a large enough population of people who feel positive about their life because parents acting as coaches actually undermine that child. So for anybody listening out here, you were programmed. Why? Every human is programmed in the first 7 years because this is how you get the brain to start functioning. Brain is a computer. Buy a brand new computer, brand new. Plug it in, turn it on, it boots up, and then I say, okay, do something, word, write something, make a drawing, a spreadsheet, surf the internet. I say, you got a brand new computer. I say, do it. And the idea is, I can't do it. I got a brand new computer, but why can't you do it? I said, before I can use my computer, I have to download programs into the computer. I go, the human brain is a computer. It boots up in the last trimester of pregnancy, but it can't operate until I get programs. And it turns out 7 years of a child's life is a period of programming because the brain is not using consciousness as a predominant activity. It's using a lower vibration called theta, which is hypnosis. So I say, for the first 7 years, a child's not being conscious, but its brain is downloading whatever it sees, whatever it hears. These are the programs. And that's when I say, well, that's 7 year period. If the parents aren't giving them positive programming, then the computer is downloaded with negative programs. I go, well, operate a computer with negative programs. You go, I don't want that one. And I say, well, talk to almost all the people out here in this world, because almost all of them at some level have been downloaded with programs that compromise their abilities. And conclusion, changing that program requires a process. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to talk to myself and I'll talk to that program. I say, oh, good. I say, let's say you have a program, glitchy program in your computer and you don't like it and you want it to work differently. I say, go talk to that computer. Talk to your computer and say, I don't like this program. Change this program. They go, will that computer change? And the answer is obviously not. You have to push the record button. Then you can do it. And I say, the subconscious mind has a record button. And if you don't push it, I don't care how much you talk to that subconscious mind. There's nobody in there to listen. You need to push an active record button. And when the button's activated, then you can download a program. So, in my second conclusion, and the second conclusion is the PSYCH-K process introduces a process itself that essentially pushes the record button. And in a PSYCH-K process, in minutes, you can download a new program when it's positive and walk away with a whole new life right after that.
So a lot of people think that it's not possible. You've had experiences. Did you remember the time that we worked together in Valencia?
Oh, which time? We've worked together a number of times.
In Valencia, where you were on the tour, and you had different things that you might have to come back to the States for a health thing.
Oh, yeah. It was a serious problem. And then it turns out a physical problem. Oh, that's a serious problem. I go, no, my physical problem is controlled by my consciousness, especially my subconscious. And you were very helpful as an intervention to say, let's change this program that you're not going to go home from Spain today. You're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And that allowed me to continue a whole European tour because of the intervention that this man helped me.
Powers within you. What would you say to people if they're not familiar with PSYCH-K and they happen to hear it and they're thinking, well, what could this possibly do? I've tried everything. It's like, this is just another one of those techniques.
No, it's a technique that is a technique that pushes a record button. It is a profoundly important one that says, this is an opportunity to rewrite a subconscious program that you've been talking to and nothing has happened and no other way has gotten in there. And I said, that's because you didn't know how to engage the record to put a new program in. And PSYCH-K is a process where the first thing is to engage the record and then put in programs that are supportive. Does it work? Yeah, man. I've been in so many PSYCH-K programs and had so many responses and seen so many people whose lives have changed. It's like, no, that's not a coincidence. This is a mechanism. Mm-hmm. And it's really important for me to give this information. I am not suggesting this is some new age kind of thing. This is a fundamentally significant process to redirect your life. If you're not living heaven on earth, wherever that heaven is missing, that's because of a conscious aspect that is not supporting you. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful part is this, well, you can identify that aspect, and using PSYCH-K, and this is real, you then can change this process, okay? Very interestingly, a while back, there was a neuroscientist who was recording brain function and showed the brain function before PSYCH-K balance, and then showed the brain function immediately after the PSYCH-K balance. I go, so what was important? You could see from the brain's function, it profoundly changed. It wasn't like a new age idea. No, you want to see it, it's on this screen, a scientific printout of this function, and all of a sudden it's like, it was real. You can see the brain change. Not just feel it, you can see it.
Yes.
So all of a sudden it takes it from the realm of new agey into, no, this is a practical reality, a practical application of belief change that is functional, fast. That's the beautiful part about it. You can experience results right after the balance like that.
I'm indebted to you because I saw my first PSYCH-K demonstration at your conference when I went to photography in Boston.
In Texas.
2007.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story because I heard you on the radio. I was on my way to a camping trip with my daughter, and to stay awake, it was like 3 a.m. I turned on the radio and they were interviewing you on Art Bell Coast to
Oh,
Coast.
Coast to Coast. That was an
And it was
amazing
like,
show.
yeah, I was like, being is like Las Vegas, all the light bulbs going off. Wow, that makes sense, and that makes sense, and wow, and I was, it's like, wow, and they gave you a name, and I wrote it down, and I lost a piece of paper. But then I got an email that said, oh, there's this brilliant cell biologist, he's got a book, Biology of Belief, and we wanted everybody to buy the book on one day, so we shoot up to number 1, and I bought the book, and I did something I never do, except this one time, I loaned the book to somebody. And I kept thinking every once in a while, I wonder where that book is, because that's so interesting, I want to read it. And one day a friend calls up, hey Peter, I had a soccer team, can you pick me up? My wife's got the car, and on the way back, I said, do you want to come in and have beer? I had drink beer, I had water. I got your book. And I said, oh, that's great, book. Biology of Belief. Oh, it was like Christmas. Oh my God, finally. And I went home, this is true, I got in the tub. I spent the whole day reading your book in the tub. I got a salad, ate in the tub, and finally, like 7 o'clock, my fingers are all waterlogged. I get up, I got on the internet, and you're coming to Austin. This was Sunday. On Friday, I don't have any money to go. So I call up on Monday, nobody answers. Call the number of the conference, nobody answers. Friday, somebody answers, well, I'm a photographer, I want to take it to the conference. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to do with the conference. I'm just picking up the phone. Oh, sorry about that. I just blurted out anything, but if I were you, I'd just go down to the conference and ask. And it's really funny because the first woman I ran into, she's just furrowed brow. She's just real nervous looking at these figures. I guess they were all the participants and stuff. And says, hi, I'm Peter. Look, I don't have time. Oh, go find MJ. Oh, okay. And so I'm looking around. There's nobody there. Going to the bookstore, nobody there. I'm getting my heartbeats going 1,000. It's like, what if I sneak in? And I'll just go to the bathroom. On the way to the bathroom, I see this woman. So she got a name tag. MJ, I'm Peter González. He says, González? Yeah, my father was from Spain. No kidding, I lived in Spain. We start talking about Spain, Sevilla, the horses, the fair, the sangria. Oh, well, what do you want? Well, I thought about doing pictures in exchange for attending the conference. What a great idea. She didn't say, can I see your portfolio? What a great idea. Come, we go back to where the woman is. Here, we're going to give you this name tag, VIP. You can sit in the front row, take pictures of Bruce. Hey, come to this little room here. I'm going to go get Bruce at the airport. You just wait for him here. When he comes, you get to know him, take some photos, and when you guys finish, we'll start the conference.
We were looking for a professional photo to use in advertising and stuff like that, and that's when Margaret, my partner, said, oh, yeah, Peter, and I was like, oh, it's going to be there, and he's going to take your photo. I said, oh, okay, and then we went out and
we went out and it wasn't really a lot to work on because we couldn't do it inside because all the people were arriving. Well, we got those pictures, and then actually there's 4 pictures from that still on the internet running around. There's two of them with you pointing to the DNA and RNA sheets. And then there's a couple of you when you're signing books, really beautiful light, and you're looking up at one person, and the other one is used a lot. There are a lot of them. But anyway, at the end of that event, you asked Trudy, Stephen Berman's wife, Trudy, who was a psych instructor, to do a demonstration. And actually, I had invited a woman, because that part was open to people, to come. And she went up, a friend of mine went up to do the demonstration. And I'm watching the demonstration, and I hear this voice inside of my head. That's for me, and I'm going to take it to Spain. I mean, it wasn't my thought. It was just like, I never had that experience. It was just like such a strong connection to Psych-K. I didn't wait another weekend, because Trudy was coming to Austin in 2 weeks. I went to Houston. I started balancing. My whole life changed. My whole life changed. Me too. And what's interesting is that when I told you I was going to become an instructor at the Oasis, you said, congratulations, this can really change people's lives. Yeah. And since then, the year I did the most trainings, I did 64 workshops.
Whoa.
In 1 year.
Oh.
And I mentioned about what motivated me for this book I'm writing, is that I felt I probably only touched, I think the number was like maybe 60 people in the basic, because the rest of the workshops were advanced and perk and things like that. And I thought, I want to be able to reach more people. So that's the reason I decided to write this book. It's not about Psych-K, it's about how do we start to be more loving with ourselves.
Yes.
How do we understand that there's a part of us that has nothing to do with us because it was programmed before us, and we start loving ourselves in spite of the programming. To me, PSYCH-K has always been about love, because what you end up doing is you end up connecting with yourself at a deeper level. And it ties in so much with what we'd like to finish with, this idea of heaven on earth. So if we love ourselves more, you wrote a book called
The Honeymoon Effect.
The Honeymoon Effect.
And I was a person for 40, 50 years, couldn't get a relationship off the ground until PSYCH-K. And now I've been on a honeymoon 25 years with my partner, Margaret.
And she is such a beautiful woman.
I'm a lucky guy, but it's also PSYCH-K, otherwise I never would have had the opportunity to connect with her at that level.
I wanted to end with this note that it is possible to have heaven on earth.
Oh my God, I live it every day, Peter.
I know. So
I love my life. I wake up, it's like, oh my God, we're still here, let's go. Let's have some fun today. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Bruce. It's always such a pleasure.
Peter, I want to thank you. We have a history together, and it's been a wonderful experience for me, and I guess for you as well.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we're doing great.
I love you.
Love you.